So here it is, YouTube. I'm Roadhawk Wilson, welcoming you to the Reverie. And in Rick and Morty, there have been many arguments against nihilism. Some people would argue that the show it both argues and disproves the idea of nihilism being great to a great degree. However, as you look at the show, there is one particular episode that argues against nihilism to a point in which we've never seen the show go to before. And keep in mind, this is a show that has argued that happiness and having a perfect relationship with someone can ultimately destroy you. This is a show that has argued that family and the importance of it is meaningless. And this is a show that has ultimately argued that if you make a mistake big enough, you can hit the reset button and everything will be fine no matter what you do. However, there is one episode in particular that argued against Rick's nihilism so well, so efficiently, but is so hated by his own creator that I think goes overlooked. And this is going to have spoilers for season 3, so please be warned about this. But in the World Ender episode, we are met with a group of superheroes who are flawed, but ultimately serve justice. However, we are also introduced into a great evil called World Ender that has caused chaos, destruction, and evil in the universe to a degree that these heroes are terrified. Yes, the heroes are shown to be cocky, arrogant, and downright despicable, but it's actually ultimately the argument in one of the quickest scenes in which World Ender is shown that we see the ultimate argument against nihilism in Rick and Morty, and that is when World Ender is shown to be basically a half dissolved, half put together form of himself on a meat hook. And we are led to believe that this is caused by some evil greater than World Ender, and which turns out to be Rick. And the reason I personally believe this to be the greatest arguments against nihilism is that in this episode, Rick gives into his nihilism so fervently just because the only thing that matters to him, Morty, is taken away from him, that he becomes the greatest evil in all of existence, ultimately torturing his predecessor to the point of near extinction, and only to leave him to suffer for the point of nothing more than to leave an impact. This ultimately argues that nihilism causes people to create self-destructive, evil antics that not everyone follows through on, but at the same time, Rick in and of himself becomes so self-absorbed, so caught in the idea of meaninglessness, that he ultimately brings down the heroes, but the universe himself acknowledges him to be worse than the worst. It's his base instincts, his base belief that nothing matters, that the very idea of meaninglessness, purposelessness, gives us a gruesome, horrible look at who the protagonist of the show actually is, to cause people to think that maybe, just maybe, while he has destroyed the world's most vicious, angry creature, that partying with him is fine. And this may seem like a complete left field, but the ultimate end of this episode is that nothing matters to a point that it literally ends in a party with Rick saying, in a reply to Morty saying, "Didn't she try to kill you?" that he essentially says, "Everyone tries to kill me eventually," to paraphrase. This ending solidifies the fact that this art was an argument that nothing in the universe matters ultimately, and that our actions are purposeless. The very definition of nihilism is in this episode, And while many characters try to argue against it, it's ultimately that Rick has to fight against this. And it's ultimately that the argument of this episode is, if you give in to nihilism, you lose yourself and become something abhorrent. And it may seem like I spent the majority of this episode talking about what Rick did, but it's through what Rick did that shows us the darkness and validity to how awful nihilism can actually be. And yes, this is a bit of a grim episode to leave people off on, but I will say that it is a testament to the creative and in future endeavors of Rick and Morty. And I'm excited to see season 4, because this show has taken the idea of nihilism and confronted people with it in a powerful and momentous way, and ultimately does argue in this same episode that there are heroes out there. They just have to stay true to what made them heroes. And I hope that is enough to leave you guys off on a positive message. But with that, I'm Roadhawk Wilson saying, keep up the nerd stuff. Keep up with what keeps you healthy. Don't give in to nihilism. And I will see you in another video. Bye.